my fiancé announced at dinner. Surprise, my ex will be our best man, he's family. I said, wow. Then I sent the venue our updated guest list, minus her plus refund. When the catering manager phoned her about the cancellation clause, she finally understood what my wow really mean. 35 male, am by nature a builder. I like solid foundations, clear plans, and partnerships built on mutual respect. For the last year, I thought my fiancée Isabel, 32, and I were building a marriage. The wedding was 3 months away. The venue was booked, deposits were paid, mostly by me, and the guest list was finalized. I was wrong about the partnership part. The foundation was rotten, and I just needed one final spectacular crack to see it. The crack had a name, Dante. He's Isabel's ex-boyfriend from college. Their relationship ended years ago, but he never really left. He was a constant presence, an inside joke I was never privy to, a best friend, whose opinion she valued just a little too much. I tolerated it because I loved her, and I'm not an insecure man. I believed her when she said, he's like a brother to me. It's purely platonic. Last Thursday, we were at dinner with her parents, a celebratory meal to mark the 3 months to go milestone. Everything was light and cheerful. Then Isabel clinked her glass, a huge self-satisfied smile on her face. I have a wonderful surprise for everyone, she announced, beaming at me. I've been trying to figure out the perfect best man since Gabe doesn't have a brother, and I wanted it to be someone who truly represents family to both of us. My best friend Mark was already my best man, a fact she seemed to have forgotten. She reached across the table and squeezed Dante's hand, who had joined us for the dinner. So I asked Dante to be our best man, and he said yes. Her parents erupted in applause. Oh, darling, what a perfect idea, her mother gushed. Dante is already part of the family. I just sat there, the fork halfway to my mouth. The world narrowed to a single point. Isabel, grinning triumphantly, Dante, with a smug, knowing smirk, giving a little nod in my direction. He wasn't her brother, he was her ex, and she had just unilaterally appointed him to stand beside me as my symbolic equal at my own wedding. She had demoted my best friend and replaced him with the ghost of her past relationship, all without a single conversation. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a decree. I felt a sudden, shocking calm. There was no anger, no shouting, just a quiet, profound moment of insight. She didn't see us as a team. She saw me as a supporting character in her story, a story that still prominently featured him. I lowered my fork and looked at her, my face a perfect mask of neutrality. I gave her a small, tight smile. Wow, I said, just that. Wow. She took it as impressed surprise. I know, right? It just makes everything feel so complete. The rest of the dinner was a blur. I nodded and smiled in all the right places, but in my head I was already dismantling the entire project. The project of us. The next morning, I didn't confront her. I didn't argue. I opened my laptop and the meticulously organized wedding spreadsheet. I had been the primary contact for almost all the vendors, and my credit card had paid for all the deposits. My first email was to Miss Albright, the coordinator at our venue, the Sterling Ballroom. Subject, Event Update, Confirmation number 78950. Dear Miss Albright, I am writing to inform you of a significant change to our scheduled event. The wedding ceremony will no longer be taking place. Instead, I will be hosting a solo family and friends appreciation event on the same date and time. Consequently, the guest list has been substantially revised. Attached is the updated guest list. Please note the new head count is 72, down from 150. Please send me an updated invoice reflecting this change and process a refund for the per head cost difference for the 78 guests who will no longer be attending. Also, please remove Isabel as a contact for this event. Thank you, Gabriel. I did the same for the caterer, the band, and the photographer, informing them of the change in event type and the new, smaller scope. Then I waited. Isabel was blissfully unaware for 2 days, humming around our apartment, talking about dress fittings. Then, on Saturday afternoon, her phone rang. I saw the venue's name flash on the screen. She answered with a cheerful, "Hi, Miss Albright." Her face slowly fell as the woman on the other end spoke. Her expression shifted from confusion to disbelief, then to pure white-hot rage. "What cancellation clause?" she shrieked into the phone. "What do you mean, my portion of the event?" She slammed the phone down and turned to me, her eyes blazing. She finally understood what my wow really meant. Update 1. The aftermath of the call was exactly as explosive as you'd imagine. The moment she hung up with Miss Albright, the dam of her composure burst. "What did you do?" she screamed, her voice echoing in our apartment. "The venue just said you cut the guest list in half and removed my name as a contact. They're asking me about a cancellation fee for my guests. You went behind my back." I looked up from my book, my heart rate surprisingly steady. "No," I said calmly. "I made a decision about my party and my guest list. Just like you made a decision about my wedding party. You showed me we weren't a team, so I unteamed the event." "A decision? You're ruining our wedding over a misunderstanding." "It wasn't a misunderstanding, Isabel. It was a proclamation. You announced, without any discussion, that your ex-boyfriend would be my best man. That's not a partnership." Her entire defense was a masterclass in gaslighting. "You're being insecure. I told you Dante is family. This is who I am. If you loved me, you would accept that." "I do accept who you are," I replied. "I just no longer accept it for me, in my life, as my wife." The next wave of attacks came from her family. Her mother called me, weeping with rage. "You're humiliating us. After all we've done to welcome you into our family, you pull a stunt like this? You are throwing away the best thing that ever happened to you over nothing." "Was it nothing?" I asked. "Because it felt like everything." Isabel and Dante, meanwhile, launched their own little PR campaign. They started telling our mutual friends that I was having a groomzilla meltdown, that I was jealous and controlling, and that I was trying to isolate her from her support system. They were trying to paint me as the unstable one, the one who cracked under the pressure. The real tipping point, the thing that solidified every choice I had made, came on Tuesday. Isabel insisted we meet to talk through the logistics. I agreed, foolishly thinking it might lead to some form of adult closure. We met at a coffee shop. Dante, of course, was with her. I had my laptop to show her the updated vendor statuses. On the screen was the digital proof for our wedding crest, a simple, elegant G&I monogram we had designed together. It was for the invitations, the napkins, the cake. It was supposed to be the symbol of our union. While I was talking to Isabel, Dante leaned over, looking at the screen. "You know," he said with a smirk, "it's good, but it's missing something." He picked up a pen and a napkin I'd been scribbling on. In a quick, deliberate motion, he drew our monogram and then cheekily squeezed a capital D right in the middle. "See," he said, pushing the napkin toward me. "G-I-N-D, the whole family. Perfect." Isabel giggled. She actually giggled. That was it. The last shred of doubt I had vanished. This wasn't just a mistake on her part. This was their dynamic, a deeply sick, disrespectful trio where I was the outsider, the financier, the butt of the joke. I didn't say a word. I just slowly packed up my laptop. I took the napkin Dante had scribbled on and folded it neatly, placing it in my pocket. I stood up. "I think we're done here," I said, and walked out. When I got home, I opened my laptop one last time. The family appreciation event was now also canceled. I sent emails to every remaining vendor, formally terminating our contracts. I knew it meant forfeiting every single deposit I had paid. Another $15,000. Gone. It was a steep price, but it was the price of my future freedom. Then I composed a group email. I sent it to every single person on our original 150-person guest list. Subject: cancellation of the wedding of Gabriel and Isabel. Dear friends and family, it is with a heavy heart that I must inform you that the wedding of Isabel and me has been canceled. This decision is due to fundamental, irreconcilable differences regarding the principles of partnership and mutual respect that I believe are the bedrock of a marriage. I sincerely apologize for any inconvenience this may cause, especially to those who have already made travel arrangements. Please contact me directly with any receipts for non-refundable flights or hotels, and I will ensure you are fully reimbursed. Thank you for your understanding. Sincerely, Gabriel. I didn't air the dirty laundry. I didn't mention Dante. I just stated that the foundation was broken, took full responsibility for the cancellation, and offered to cover everyone's costs. I took away their "Gabe is a groomzilla" narrative and replaced it with a simple, dignified, and undeniably final statement. The game was over. Update 2. The email landed like a quiet, polite bomb. The fallout was swift, but not in the way Isabel and Dante had anticipated. My phone lit up, but the calls weren't angry. They were from my family and close friends, all expressing concern and support. To them, I gave the short, unvarnished version. The response was unanimous. You did the right thing. Isabel's side was a different story. Her friends, who had been fed the Gabe is controlling narrative, were suddenly confused. Why would a controlling groomzilla cancel the entire wedding and offer to pay for everyone's travel? The story didn't add up. Her lies started to unravel under the weight of my quiet, responsible actions. The financial reality began to set in for her in waves. The first was a call from the luxury resort where our honeymoon was booked. I had put down a hefty, non-refundable deposit on my credit card months ago. The reservation was under both our names, and they called her to confirm the cancellation. The loss of that dream trip was, I heard, a major blow. But the real, satisfyingly cold dose of reality was something I had planned as my final move. During the wedding planning, her parents had verbally agreed to pay for several large-ticket items. Her designer wedding dress, $7,000, the flowers, $4,000, and the rehearsal dinner venue deposit, $2,500. In the chaos of planning, I had paid for all of these on my card, with the understanding they would pay me back before the wedding. After the breakup, there was radio silence on that front. They clearly assumed I'd just eat the cost. They were wrong. I had my lawyer draft a formal business-like letter. It was not emotional. It was not accusatory. It was a simple demand for repayment of funds fronted on their behalf for a service that was no longer being rendered. Attached was an itemized invoice with copies of the receipts and credit card statements. The letter ended with a simple sentence: we request payment of the full amount of $13,500 within 30 business days to consider this matter closed. The message was clear. Our personal relationship is over, but this financial obligation remains. A week after my lawyer sent that letter, Isabel showed up at my door. The rage and entitlement were gone, replaced by a desperate, hollowed-out look. "Gabe, please," she began, her voice trembling. "We can fix this. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I see it now. I'll tell Dante to get lost. We don't need a big wedding. We can just go to the courthouse. Just you and me." It was a stunning performance. But I knew what it was. It wasn't remorse for her betrayal. It was remorse for the consequences. She wasn't mourning the loss of me. She was mourning the loss of the comfortable life I provided, the dream wedding, the social status. I didn't invite her in. I just stood in the doorway. "It's too late, Isabel," I said. I pulled a folded piece of paper from my pocket. It was the napkin from the coffee shop. I unfolded it and showed her the scribbled G.I.N.D. monogram. "This was never about just the best man," I told her, my voice quiet. "This is the issue. This is your ideal marriage. You, him, and me as the silent partner who funds the whole operation. You didn't just disrespect our wedding. You showed me you disrespect the entire concept of a two-person marriage." Her face crumpled as she saw the napkin. It was the one piece of evidence she couldn't spin. "I've packed your things," I said. "They're in boxes in the spare room. My brother will be here tomorrow to supervise while you pick them up." I closed the door on her pleading, tear-streaked face. And for the first time in months, I felt like I could finally breathe. Final update. It's been over half a year since I closed the door on Isabel and the shambles of our almost marriage. The dust has settled, and the landscape of my life is clearer, quieter, and infinitely more peaceful. The letter from my lawyer worked. After a week of furious, blustering phone calls from Isabel's father to my lawyer, which he professionally ignored, a check for the full $13,500 arrived via courier. The threat of a simple, open and shut small claims case and the public embarrassment that would entail was enough to force their hand. They paid their debt. As for Isabel and Dante, their tragic love story had a predictable third act. They started dating officially almost immediately after our breakup. For about 3 months, her social media was a cringeworthy performance of their meant-to-be romance. But the dynamic, it seems, only worked when they had me to triangulate, to defy. Once I was gone, and Dante was faced with the prospect of being a supportive, contributing partner instead of a smug interloper, the whole thing fell apart. I heard from a mutual friend that the breakup was messy. He wasn't interested in the version of Isabel that came with financial struggles and real-world responsibilities. He was in love with the idea of winning her from me, not with her. Isabel's life took a sharp downturn. She lost the apartment, the lifestyle, and a significant number of friends who saw her behavior for what it was. Last I heard, she had to move into a small apartment an hour away and is working a second job in retail to make ends meet. She's still telling anyone who will listen that I'm a monster who ruined her life over a simple mistake. The victim narrative is all she has left. No, I took a massive financial hit. All told, with the lost deposits, I'm out probably close to $25,000. And you know what? It's the best money I've ever spent. It was the cost of my divorce before I ever had to get married. A bargain, really. I took the money I would have spent on the rest of the wedding and that honeymoon, and I went on a month-long solo trip. I hiked mountains, read books, and remembered who I was without her. The revenge wasn't loud. It was the quiet, methodical process of removing myself from an equation that never added up. It was refusing to play her games. It was the cold, hard consequence of a catering manager calling her about a cancellation clause. It was the dignified silence of my email to our guests. It was the business-like finality of a lawyer's invoice. She thought she could have it all, me for my stability and him for her ego. She underestimated me. She assumed my love was unconditional, that my willingness to build a life for us was a blank check for her disrespect. She learned that a foundation of lies can't support the weight of a life. And when it crumbled, she was the one left in the rubble, and I was already walking away, free and clear.